I always liked archaeology, and I always did like field walking, things like that when I was younger. But I actually then discovered it at the old Monmouth archaeological dig about age 15, and that's when I discovered that it was the practical side of history I liked, and that was called archaeology. You're always discovering something which no one else has found for a very long time, whereas in history, you're just reading about something else which someone already knows about. I had been taught in the schools here, and we always were told that Trellech was a large place. They thought it was mainly in the village at the time, but very little was known about it. Probably the largest settlement in Wales at the time, and about 1/4 the size of medieval London. So we knew it was a large place, but beyond that we didn't know much more. Then in 2002 I was invited up by the local farmer, Jonathan, who owns a field just across from where mine is now, and to investigate for a potential building. We found a building, and we found it very, very quickly, within about the first hour. So we came back there a couple of weeks later and actually found another one. So that's how I got into it. And then a couple of years later, this field came up for auction, and I was able to buy it. My mum said when I first bought the field, if I don't find anything, because of course we didn't actually know there was anything definitely here at the time, it would be a good place for a picnic. So we had to get all the grass down in first of all, so it was very long grass, up to about chest height. Actually, it was not really into the winter we actually started looking at it. And then what we first did is we saw a few stones, and rather than pull out anything out of the ground, all we did is pulled out the grass, and there was a wall. And we just pulled it back like a carpet and said, whoa. I said, that's pretty good. We started finding building after building after building. At one point we had to joke, could we dig a place and not find a building? And in terms of the date of the settlement, for us it really becomes important from 1245. And there is stuff here probably beforehand. We don't actually have much evidence for that. I mean, the lowest deposits here, which we've dug, we go from 1245 down to Neolithic. So there is nothing before in terms of medieval stuff. But it's 1245 because at that point, it's the declares take over. And then when the declares take over, they turn this, perhaps little hamlet, into a major industrial town. The main industry in Trellech, we believe, must be iron. Because if you look at it from just any other point of view, agriculture. Yes, it's fairly good land around here, but compared to the rest of Monmouthshire on the lowlands, it's very poor land. So you can't really do it. The sheep farming, well, you can do it equally good in the valleys. You get better transport links in the valleys. So you start thinking about, well, what's the point of being up here? But also when we dig up here, what we find is tons and tons of iron slag. So that's a pretty good dead giveaway. But then agriculture comes in because people need to be fed. Then you have the leather industry coming in because people need to have shoes. And then you have the clothing industry coming in because people need to wear clothes. And then have all the other industries coming in to serve the growing town. So the town itself creates a centre of gravity in its own right. This was the centre of the iron industry to supply the Declares army with iron, but then they ally with Edward I in order to conquer Wales and start the formation of Britain. So to start conquering Britain, you need a force, an army. For an army you need iron, and iron comes from Trellech. So Trellech is effectively at the centre of the beginning of the formation of Britain and the country that we know it today. Yes, well, it was one of the largest settlements in Wales, and Trellech has disappeared, mainly because things changed. The reason why Trellech was here had gone. It was here basically to help conquer Wales. Well, Wales was conquered. I mean, it only takes really one generation to lose it, because if you know about a settlement and you don't teach that to your child, that's it. It goes. So knowledge is a very, very easy thing to lose. And we've had many, many, many generations since. In history books, if you read a text or whatever, you could just read a text and that's it, and that's all you've got. And you've got your imagination, you can think. But here you can actually see how people have used it. For example, we've got a sharpening stone, or some piece of rubble which has been used as a sharpening stone. But you actually can pick it up. You can see where they've cut it. But then if you pick it up, you can actually when you feel it, you can't see it sometimes, but if you feel it, you can actually feel where the thumb has gone in, and the fingers are actually how they've actually held it. Actually, they know if they're right or left-handed sometimes. So you actually can feel and how they've actually used these things. You get into a mindset of how they've done things. And when you look at the building walls and how they've built things, you said, oh, we've seen this over again. And so even if you only see part of a wall, we say, oh, we know what they're doing here. You could get into the mindset of how the people have built it. I mean, I'm really proud that I've actually found what I said I was going to find. I mean, I was looking here, I was going to find medieval Trellech, and I put all the money into it. Instead of buying a house, a good house, get a mortgage, I actually did and actually bought it, the field at Trellech, dug it, found it, and once you put all the effort in and you put all the money in it, and to get out what you said you should get out of it, yeah, it's a good feeling.